Hello, welcome to my Nutrient Nirvana channel. My name's Paul. Today I'm joined for a second time by my favourite researcher on the internet, Clive De Carle. Hello, Clive, how are you?
Hello, Paul. Thank you very much for inviting me again. Yeah, I'm great. Very
That's
well,
an
thank you.
absolute pleasure, mate. So today, primarily, I'd like to discuss Metasomer or Nanosomer. Could you explain to my viewers exactly what is Metasomer and why is it causing such a wave of excitement in the natural health world?
Well, it's very unusual that a product like this, made from a plant material, in this case, sugarcane, can be patented. Now, generally speaking, the rule is that you can't patent a natural extract of sugar or natural extract of anything else. It has to be turned into something that's not natural, which is how the drug companies make their drugs. So for this to have got 3 patents is most unusual. So there are only a few ways that natural products can be patented. And one of them is, let's say I gave you the recipe in the patent. It's how you extract. It's a material called polycosanol. So how you would extract the polycosanol from the sugarcane, then how you nanosize it, stabilize it, prepare it, and so on. So if I gave you all that information, there it is in the patent, no normal person could, from that information, figure out that it would cure anything, let alone conceivably lots of things. You wouldn't be able to work out that it appears to reverse DNA damage. So on that basis, that nobody could have worked out from the formula what it would do, that it's granted a patent, because nobody could have guessed what the results of this material has been. And the story, as I got it from the inventor, who spent 35 years in the pharmaceutical industry making pharmaceuticals, he had a realization there's got to be a simpler answer than pharmaceuticals. And he chanced upon a temple in India, because the chap is Indian, which was a jaggery temple, which is raw sugar. And they were apparently something like they were putting sugar in this lake or pond or something, and people drank the holy water with the sugar in it and got better. So quite a few friends of mine have been taking polycosanol for years as an anti-aging supplement. But what is unique about this one is its size. And they were able to patent the sizing of the element. And the patents were granted in record time, faster than Edison or Tesla's patents. And I think the date, I may be wrong about this, but it was like the fastest patent granted it since 1789 or something outrageous like that. Wow. Crazy stuff. And so the patent claims which are being granted are for things like skin conditions, like various types of dermatitis, psoriasis, eczema, things like kidney cancer, prostate cancer and kidney disease, basal cell carcinoma, all sorts of things which supposedly a natural product can't. I'm misspelling everything. So if I'm using words like cure or cancer, I'm spelling them with a K for legal reasons. And so it's a most unusual product, most unusual. And so I've been getting reports from people who've been using it. And the reports have been things like, well, the doctors have said my 17-year-old son has a defective gene. There is no cure. Nothing can ever be done. And I had a consultation with this woman about 5 weeks ago, and I said, look, various things that could be tried. I never believe the there is no hope scenario, because that's what they said to me when I was in hospital. There's nothing that can be done, and they were wrong. So I said, well, yeah, why don't you try this Metasomer stuff and see what happens? So day 1, massive reaction. Day 2, even more so. Day 3, this child or young man who was unresponsive to a lot of things, the sort of symptoms you might think of metal poisoning, it sounded like to me. Within 3 days, apparently a totally different person, right? Suddenly happy, communicative, all the things he wasn't just 3 days before.
Fantastic.
Another person emailed me saying that their blood pressure had normalized in 24 hours.
Wow.
So the question is, how often does this sort of result happen? Because is it 1 in 1,000, 1 in 100, 1 in 10, everybody? And it's that I'm trying to get to the bottom of. But the more I research it, the more promising the whole thing seems to be. There are so many photographs of people where they've been, let's say, injured, and now their foot's so badly injured it's down to you can see the bone through the rest of the skin, and in a few days, weeks, it's just growing back, like the reverse of I mean, really, really next to impossible sort of stuff. And I can send you a link to the pictures, and you can put them up.
Please do, yeah.
It's super interesting stuff. It's not as inexpensive as I'd like, but it's not too bad.
Okay, and there's some pretty amazing claims about what it does inside the body. I've heard that it helps you produce vitamin C in the body, which, as I understand it, we've not been able to do for millions of years. I think there was an enzyme in our body, well, there still is. It now lies dormant, but previously this enzyme helped produce vitamin C in our bodies millions of years ago. But nanos or Metasomer activates this enzyme. Is that correct?
Well, the basic idea that we don't produce our own endogenous vitamin C is wrong, because there are many people who do not eat fruits and vegetables. They just don't eat them, and they're not dead. So clearly we have a mechanism to either use, recycle, or whatever vitamin C that is not generally understood. Otherwise, where else do you get vitamin C from? So this is what one of the studies, I believe, shows. And there's so much to read. I haven't had the time to read all the studies and read all the patents. So whether it does or not, I don't know. But that's what they say. And something or a series of somethings are causing these rather brilliant results to happen.
And it also triggers the vitamin D receptors in the body as well. So supplementing with vitamin D might be a thing of the past if this claim is true.
Well, what the inventor says, and I take this with a huge pinch of salt, is that maybe nobody will need any supplements. It will sort out everything. I find that hard to believe with the quality of the food as poor as it is. Personally, even the resellers that I've talked to, most of them are still supplementing as well, because why would you want to risk anything? I feel that we're designed for full nutrition, and in this modern world, we're not getting anything near it. So I think 200 years ago, supplementing probably would have been ridiculous, but now I think it's essential.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I ask you, have you tried taking it at all, and have you had any positive results?
Yeah, I'm taking it, and I'm monitoring myself, and when I've got something to report, I'll report it.
Okay.
So the jury's out for me at the minute.
Okay.
But when I first started taking it, I'm taking much more than I did originally.
Right.
I've upped the dose.
Yeah, there is a protocol involved, isn't there, for people?
There is a protocol. No, basically, you sort of really start slowly at the beginning for a day or something, because some people do get a reaction from taking too much to start with, and then the idea is you take really quite a lot in the first week, and after a while you drop off. But the instructions keep changing, and so as I say, I've upped my dose.
Okay. So I think it's fair to say that the jury is still out on that particular product?
Well, no, I think the jury's well and truly in. Many people are getting a fantastic result from it, and I would happily say to everybody, try it. Buy four bottles of the stuff. Try it. I mean, it keeps selling out for a start.
I know.
And there's so much evidence. I mean, just so much evidence, photographic and otherwise, that it does stuff that I've never seen anything else do.
And it does this because it's not a nutrient or a supplement as such. It goes into the body and it helps the body act in a way that it should be acting. Like it puts it in a state of homeostasis, I suppose. Is that correct?
It seems to. It seems, my understanding is, not my true knowledge, but my understanding is that it corrects DNA damage, and we're all perfect, or we should be, we're capable of total repair. So what is it that's stopping us? Well, my view in the past, it's been malnutrition and toxic poisoning that stopped that happening, and I still believe that. But maybe there are other levels to it. And this appears to be a product that, and I can't explain it, seems to be a bit on another level to other products.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a little similar to what GC-MAF was. GC-MAF had an effect that one didn't see with other things. But then again, it was the protocol that went with GC-MAF that was the larger part of people's success with it, which was the vitamin D and the vitamin C and the supplementation and diet changes and so on. But with this product, it seems another league ahead, whereas even without too many diet changes, I mean, the first thing that the inventor said that he noticed when he started taking it himself was he lost his beer belly. That was the first change he said he noticed in himself. And it was partly because he found he wasn't eating as much.
Right.
And so could that be that it somehow corrects the digestion so that you can extract more nutrients from the food? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But increasingly, it seems to be the most interesting tool in the box, I think.
Okay. Well, it's definitely something I'll be keeping a close eye on in the next few weeks and months.
I'm happy to report back.
Right.
We've been waiting for our supply to arrive, and we've said on the website it will arrive in September. Our supply, and I think it's important to understand. Perhaps there are two different versions out there.
Oh, really?
And when we next speak, I will tell you more about the difference between the versions and why.
Right. Is this anything to do with the fact that the products are sometimes called Metasomer and sometimes it's called Nanosomer? And I think there's another couple of names knocking about.
Yeah, there are several names. The Metasomer name is going to be replaced by another name, and we're probably going to call ours Nano. Sorry, my brain's gone. It's been a very, very, very long day. Sorry,
Don't worry about that, Clive.
Yeah, okay, I've got it. Yeah, we're going to call it Nano Polycosanol.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because that seemed the most descriptive of what it actually is.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
But at the moment, it's on the site as Metasomer.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. And you've still got? Is there a waiting list still for that, or?
Yes, but we keep getting promised supply, and then we don't get it. So I'm on the case of it now, and I'm hoping to get an answer tomorrow as to when.
Okay. Well, good luck with that anyway. As you just mentioned, GC-MAF, I think some of my viewers will be aware it was in the mainstream media about a year or two ago, wasn't it? Because of a couple of people that were making it and were having amazing results with it. I'll just leave that there. David Noakes and I think it was Liv.
It's Lynn Thayer.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Are they free at the moment, or are they still in?
Well, they both committed a crime, so to speak, that had no victims.
Mm.
There were no victims. A ridiculous law was broken, and David is still in prison, facing 10 years for a victimless crime. The crime was making people well without doctors, drugs. That was the crime.
Mm.
Luckily, his partner Lynn is out of jail now
Oh, that's good.
and setting up a retreat center, I believe,
Oh, lovely.
for healing purposes. And so good news for Lynn, not yet for David,
Okay.
but he's got good people working with him, I believe, like John Smith from the Common Law
Yep.
group, and well,
Crazy world.
crazy well.
Yeah. And on that subject, I'd noticed yesterday that Dolores Cahill is facing arrest at the moment. And I believe somebody that I've come across before, and somebody you've interviewed on your channel several times, Kerry Rivera, has also been arrested. So it would seem that we're living in a world now where more and more good people are being arrested, more and more good people are being censored. What are your thoughts on that, Clive?
Well, the videos that have been the most censored off my channel since 2014 have been Kerry Rivera's ones, because she talks about chlorine dioxide
Mm-hmm.
and autism. And these are words that one mustn't utter,
Yes.
And people around her started getting murdered.
Oh dear.
And it's all relating to GC-math, chlorine dioxide.
Mm.
So what people need to know is they need to look at Andreas Kalka's website, and they want to look at the website and the videos put out by Autism One. Check out Kerry Rivera.
Mm-hmm.
And, like pretty much everything, most of the answers are there. Here we have, jab damage, and people are told it's hopeless. Autism, it's hopeless, and it's not true. It is just not true. And so people, I was shown a video just today, a couple of hours ago, which was so doom and gloom, I can't believe it. It was one of those, well, everybody's going to be dead in 3 years' time. And while that could be right, they didn't mention in the 3 minutes of absolute horror that there could be some answers. They just left the answer part out. Who knows what the answers are going to turn out to be in the long run. But, just today, I read something from Sayer G, who runs greenmedinfo.com, which is, one of the best research websites out there, which can't be found on Google anymore.
Oh.
And he'd been researching the toxicity of ivermectin. Turns out that ivermectin has an LD50, that's the sort of the lethal dose, that's worse than cyanide.
Really?
So think about it this way. The pharmaceutical industry still want you to believe in pharmaceuticals. Nobody's low on ivermectin. Everybody's low on zinc, probably, maybe. Everybody's low on vitamin C and all sorts of things. But to think that ivermectin is the answer, yes, it works. It's been curing everybody. But it has the same mechanism of action that things like vitamin C or chlorine dioxide can also achieve. We're talking about oxidants and antioxidants, because chlorine dioxide and vitamin C are sort of opposites, can't be taken at the same time, but nevertheless have basically the same effect. Dr. Brownstein in America, who wrote the book on iodine and Celtic salt and stuff, he's just published his protocol for totally curing everybody with natural means, no ivermectin needed, 500 plus total, everybody fixed, everybody, every single person naturally, no need for hospitalization or any of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's very frustrating at the moment, isn't it?
But they're
So
looking, yeah. But at what point are people willing to carry on putting up with it? I mean, I just got told today that some parcels going into Southern Ireland were getting opened, and if there were supplements, they were just being binned.
wow.
I can no longer send supplements to Russia, Brazil, Portugal, Spain, most of Europe now. Can't do it. They just get sent back, and we get charged the reverse postage.
Unbelievable. That's shocking.
I sent my daughter, who lives in Spain, a birthday present in early December. It came back last month.
Oh dear.
What's happened to it for half a year? I mean, I'm very pleased to get it back, but I mean, what's going on? So half the world is unable now to do business with half the world. I mean, I used to have a business selling products to places. I've still got a business selling products to places, but just not lots of the ones I used to. I mean,
Yeah.
this is war. Genocidal war is being waged on every level at once.
I think as this has gone on over the last 18 months, that's become clearer and clearer and clearer, for people. So, I mean, I suppose on a positive note, I've noticed over the last few weeks that more and more people that I would never have thought were capable of questioning things are actually starting to question things now. People in my family, people in my circle of friends. So I suppose really, there is food. There is cause for a bit of optimism, but as you say, it would appear that it is a full-on war at the moment, isn't it? It really is.
Well, it has been for a long time.
Yeah, I know, but yeah,
one could go back right 100 years plus.
yeah, sure.
How did they get people to fight World War One? Well, mind control.
Yeah, you were made to feel like a coward, weren't you, if you didn't go to?
It was they controlled the media then, just like they do now.
Yeah,
and they persuaded millions of people to go and die for nothing. My grandfather was like one of 8 come out of 4,000 people. He got signed up when he was at school, and how they did it, as you probably know, was that a whole regiment be made up of all your class. Right, you leave school at 15, 16, and now you're all with a gun in the trenches, and it's you're with your mates. You're not shooting to hurt somebody, you're shooting to stop your mates getting killed around you. And it's just the trick they played on my grandfather.
Yeah.
He didn't know why he was fighting, but he had to fight to defend his mates.
My granddad ended up in Japan in World War II, and he was a prisoner of war for 3 years. Had a horrific time, saw a lot of his friends killed, and yeah, it's
and for what?
Exactly.
So, I mean, now, where are the troops now in England? 20 years of lost limbs, lost lives, misery for nothing. Are they fed up with the government yet? How long is it going to take?
Well, this kind of brings me on. I was going to ask you about. I'm making a video soon. I'm going to call it "Health Autonomy versus Health Apathy," because I know I said a few moments ago that I've noticed that more and more people are sort of questioning things and waking up to certain things. But at the same time, when I've spoken to many people about nutrition and certain key essential nutrients like magnesium and vitamin D, vitamin C, etc., some people will comment, "Oh, vitamin C, it's just expensive urine, isn't it?" And there seems to be just a total lack of belief in natural products with probably still the majority of people.
Well, there's been a lot of negative press all the time. I see it because I'm in the business. Front page of whatever it is, saying vitamin trials fail. And then you read further down and they use synthetic vitamins. Well, no wonder they failed. They were synthetic. They weren't even real.
Sure.
And doctors are taught in medical school that more than 1 gram of vitamin C is exactly that, expensive urine, just pee it out. This is a lie. People have survived when they're meant to die by having 200 grams intravenously. And the media and so on perpetuates the myths, and the doctors don't know any better.
Mm.
It's a sad fact. They don't study vitamins. They just believe what they're told. 4 hours in 5 years on nutrition. So they don't know.
About sorry, Clive, about 2 years ago on that subject, I thought I'd go and see my doctor. I hadn't been to a doctor for about 15, 20 years. So I wanted to get my vitamin D levels checked. So I went to the surgery, spoke to the doctor and said, I'd like to get my vitamin D levels checked, please. And he said, why do you want to do that? And I said, well, I don't know what they are. We're coming into winter. We're coming into flu season. And I'd just like to know what my levels are. I want to, if I need to up my levels, I want to boost my immune system. And he said, vitamin D, the immune system, the two aren't connected at all. Vitamin D are good for your bones, he said, but vitamin D has nothing to do with the immune system. And this is a doctor, so.
Well, he's making it up as he goes along. He probably read an article in some crappy paper 20 years ago, or got taught it in biology at school, and has assumed it's fact ever since without the intelligence to check it out. I mean, where's he been, under a rock? Because
I know.
For the last 10 years, it's been on Radio 4 about vitamin D.
Yeah, they're just so brainwashed, aren't they? So it would seem, anyway.
Well, they think they're God. They're trained to think that they're gods, and most of them are working on what their professor told them from what he learned 40 years before that. And they're working on some of them with really outdated information. They say that there's a change in medicine, and it takes 20 years sometimes for the doctors to keep up.
Crazy, yeah.
Because anyway, so it's corrupt. It's unfortunate. So I've been trying to work on how do you wake people up. What are you going to say to try and get people to hear you? Because people, we were talking about this earlier.
Is it like trying to find commonalities with people in the normie world? So, for example, I remember hearing you once say that nobody wants war. No, everyone generally agrees that war is a bad idea. So we've got that in common. And there are many other things you can add to that list that we all agree are bad things and we don't want them. Is that perhaps a way to get through the door?
Yeah, I've completely forgotten that. Yeah, one of the ways is, so I just got to make a note about this before I forget. So I'm just writing an article tonight, which this is relevant to. So I mean, if you say to somebody 3 things that they'll agree with. I mean, I'll give you an example. The older they are, the better it is. Have you noticed that the butterflies aren't around like they used to be? Now, if somebody's old enough, they'll say, funny, you should have mentioned that. Where are they? Where have they gone? You could say, if they're over 50 or something, you could say, do you remember driving in the springtime when all the insects were around at night and you had to stop to clean the insects off your headlights because they'd gone dim with all the dead insects and it was all on your windscreen right in front of your face? And the old ones will go, funny you should mention that. Where have they gone?
Yeah, I remember that, but I want to clarify, I'm not 50 yet. But
This is
I do remember that as a kid. I do remember that.
So if you can present them with a few arguments where they go, oh, yes, right, and you've got a little stash of them, then you can say the next thing that otherwise they would have seen as a full-on offense to them. You're going to tell them something they don't want to hear. It's just possible by, so to speak, having them agree with you. You're right, you're right, you're right. That the next thing you present, they're more likely to at least examine the possibility that you might be right.
Yeah, I was going to say, how about have you noticed how the plane trails have got much larger over the last 20, 30 years compared to the old days? I mean, I have in my lifetime.
Well, some people don't look up at all and haven't noticed. But yes, it's they might agree to that one.
Yeah. Okay, cheers, Clive. So can we talk about testosterone? And there's this train of thought at the moment that most men in the Western world are lacking in testosterone.
Well, where is the revolution? Where's the fight back against what's going on?
Mm.
I don't see. There seems to be a lack of testosterone and a lack of testicular function in general. So drinking water out of plastic bottles. Plastic bottles, when they blow them from a little slug of plastic, they're not fully set when they put the water in. So fake estrogens get absorbed by the water. The plasticizers have these estrogen-like products.
This would be bisphenol A, is that correct?
Sorry, say it again.
This is like bisphenol A, isn't it? That would be a good example.
I believe that would be one of them. There are several plasticizers that they use. So there's that. Then there's soya. You've probably heard the phrase "soy boys."
Yeah.
Soya also has a xenoestrogen in it, and it is effeminizing men. Soya is effeminizing men and really messing with the hormones of women. Plus, if you're in a city where the water has gone through the sewage treatment plants, you are drinking, if you're not filtering it yourself with a good filter, you are drinking the world's most commonly consumed pharmaceutical drug, the birth control pill, which is estrogen.
Yeah.
So the men are getting hit conceivably in 3 different ways by estrogen, and estrogen by definition is making them more feminine, less male.
Well, we keep hearing this meme that there are too many people in the world, so perhaps it's not a coincidence.
Well, maybe there's nothing wrong, Maybe there's nothing wrong with, we're assuming that, people are getting injured. Well, we're observing people getting injured and died from jabs and so on. But, maybe from the planet's point of view, we're best off without them. I mean, I don't know. But maybe there's nothing wrong. Maybe the universe is unfolding as it should.
Yeah.
Who
knows?
But as far as I'm concerned, I'm trying to suggest to as many people that there are ways to be well. Lots of ways to be well. Number one, stop poisoning yourself with the food that you're buying. Do not buy poisoned food. That's number one, because everybody's doing it to themselves. They're going to the supermarket, buying stuff in packets that their forefathers would have recognized as food. They think, well, that's not food, and thrown it away. And full of chemicals they don't know about or understand, definitely don't want in their body. I see clients, and I ask them, what do you eat? And the worse they eat, the worse their health is. People are eating oily products like mayonnaise and stuff. All the oils that aren't natural ones, like animal fats, cold pressed oils, but all the normal oils you see in the supermarket are all poisonous. Most of the bread is made with hybridized wheat, poisoning people. Glyphosate, and now with the E10 petrol. You know about the E10 petrol that's coming in, made of 10% biofuels. Now, because it's not food stuff, let's say the biofuel is corn, right? So they're spraying the corn with as much glyphosate, herbicide as they possibly want to, and now they're making fuel for your car, and now your car is spraying out glyphosate. Not only is it in the food, but now the cars are off-gassing it.
Oh my God.
So it's war, and they're hitting us from every angle. And from the testosterone point of view, people have got to get their testosterone up and running and start taking direct action at this point. I mean, let's say 1 million people this Saturday are going to go marching, right? Let's just say. What if those 1 million people split up and they went to the house of the boss of Pfizer, all the directors of Pfizer and AstraZeneca, all the ministers, the local mayor, everybody, in the nicest possible way, say, we feel that there needs to be more discussion on what you're proposing before we do it. And one could put a few leaflets through the doors of the neighbors, just to, here's a fact you might not have heard of that you might be interested to learn. Please do read it if you want to learn something new. So it's not a threat to them. You're not threatening them with information they don't want to know. You're in the kindest possible way. Because when Occupy Wall Street happened, I've got a friend who's a banker, and he said that the big fear they all had was that people would find out where they lived and they wouldn't be able to go home. They'd have to stay in hotels when they want to go back to their places, you know.
Yeah.
And if we're going to have an effect, you know, I don't want to inconvenience anybody, but they're inconveniencing the world and potentially killing a lot of people. I think we have to go, if necessary, to their homes and say, hello.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's difficult because when I first woke up to all this information, my initial reaction to it all was anger. I was very angry that people were being poisoned and people were being led down the wrong path with information about how the world was run and the way it works. And so I was angry. I went to my parents. I went to various members of my family and tried to tell them. But when you're in that state of anger, it's not a very effective way of presenting the information to people.
The reaction, inevitable reaction to anger is defensiveness.
Sure.
So you can't go in with anger. You can't even go in with an idea that they don't want to hear. You have to find non-violent communication methods that allow you to get through those barriers and communicate. And it has to come from a place of love. You know, if you've got something difficult to say it with love, and maybe somebody might hear it.
It's very frustrating at the moment, but at the same time, I do believe that there are still people that are waking up to this information as we speak. And also there's a train of thought that you can't really wake somebody up. They have to wake up themselves. You know, they have to go on that journey themselves, so to speak. I don't know if you would agree with that or not.
Well, you know, personal experience, I suppose. They say, well, the only way to teach is by example. So, I mean, at the end of the day, some people are more open than others, aren't they?
Yeah. True.
I mean, I had a couple here today who said it was only when their business was put out of business by being forced to close that they had the time to actually think about things and wake up. And they said, you know, they've been totally asleep up until 18 months ago. And they started waking up big time. So it is happening. You know, some people will never wake up, perhaps.
Yeah.
But it's a bit slow, a bit too slow for my liking at the minute.
Yeah, given the circumstances that we find ourselves in, I completely agree with you there. So there were other things I wanted to talk to you about today. I wanted to talk to you about selenium. I wanted to talk to you about methyl sulfonyl methane, MSM, and also the biology of belief. So I don't know if you know much about the biology of belief, or it's something you do yourself, but this is kind of like epigenetics, like what Bruce Lipton has spoken about an awful lot. And basically, it's like changing your consciousness, and the after effect of that is it changes your biology, so you become a lot stronger, a lot healthier, basically by just believing or living in a state of love, if you like, I guess, which is something you've talked about before. So is this something you've looked into much or talked about?
Yeah, no, I was lucky enough to come across the book when it was first published.
Oh, right.
And if anybody hasn't read The Biology of Belief, it's a great book. And I bought several copies. I make a mistake with books. I lend them to people, knowing that I'm not going to get them back. But I need to buy another copy because the other one's gone. But yeah, fantastic book. And yes, you know, doctors are taught that genetics are genetics. You're born with the hand you're dealt, and that's it. Bad luck, bye. Have some drugs. Whereas the reality is there's epigenetics, and you know, it's not about genes. It's about the expression, the genetic expression. And if you eat really good food and you're happy and stuff like that, there's a good chance that your cells will express themselves in a beneficial way. But if you're just nervous and you're running a high adrenaline mode, just that shuts down healing thinking to a degree, and puts all the adrenaline into the muscles so you can run away from something that must be frightening you.
Yeah.
But if it's the news on TV or something, so people are stuck now in fight or flight, and we are in control. I mean, I may have mentioned this to you before, but I had this revelatory moment some 25 years ago. I'm sitting on the floor, depressed as. I'm so depressed. I've been depressed for days, can't figure out life, what to do. Everything looks just dire. And the phone rings, and it's this sexy girl. And I catch myself going from total misery to ecstasy in like 2 seconds. And I suddenly realized, hang on a minute. It's a phone call, and actually nothing's going to happen with the sexy girl. It's just, and I realized that if a phone call can snap me from misery to ecstasy in seconds, then I must be able to command my brain in some way to be in control, right? And that really it woke me up to, hang on a minute. And after that, I started studying self-hypnosis and stuff like that.
Oh, right.
And, you realize the power of words. I mean, so incredible how important words are. So many people write post-it notes to themselves. So many people write lists of my dreams, and in so many cases, the act of writing it down, spelling it, creating a spelling, seems to have a real, tangible result in the conscious world. I mean, it's just what you think happens. If you want it badly enough, you can pretty much make things happen, and then coincidences happen all the time. Impossible happenstances, because if our destinies are intertwined and we're working towards the highest good, you might say, the good of all, then we sort of have to meet the connections in life that we need to meet. We sort of have to.
Yeah. So you manifest your own reality.
Yeah. And on top of that, you are what you eat, drink, think, and do. That's what we are, what we eat, drink, think, and do.
Yeah. So it kind of reminds me of the old, the David Icke message that we're far more powerful than what we realize or what we know.
Well, exactly. Yeah, they've covered up who we are, and what we were. I mean, look at old architecture. It's magnificent and impossible and grandiose and splendid, and and now you look at modern architecture, it's a box, that has made of a concrete that will last 70 years, and then the tower block will fall apart. How many people realize that these concrete buildings are not going to last? I mean, whereas some buildings that have been there for virtually forever. People look at the ancient world, they see the Colosseum in Rome and the smashed up stuff. That was war damage. That was not age that did that. Because St. Petersburg, for instance, is an intact example, whereas in the Lebanon there's Baalbek, which is a destroyed, both designed with the same architectural talents, both made for giant-sized people, basically. Stones that would be impossible to cut now were there. We're not going forward. We're not progressing as a human race. We're regressing.
Yeah, I believe that.
Now we're barely human, some of us.
Yeah. I think didn't you actually live in Baalbek at one point, or Lebanon?
Well, I was in the Lebanon before the Lebanese Civil War started.
Was that in the 80s or the 70s?
It was the 70s.
Yeah.
And late 70s. And it was fantastic. Lebanon was wonderful. Wonderful. People were lovely. The French influence meant the food was outrageous. I loved it there. Beirut was fabulous, and 1 hour away you could go skiing in the mountains, sort of thing. It was just the perfect place. But there was a hell of a lot of troop maneuvering going on. And, I was so young, I didn't know they were about to have a war for 20 years. There were so many tanks and troops, and I thought, interesting army maneuvers, all this practicing they're doing, never occurred to me that 3 weeks after I left, they were going to kill each other for 20 years and destroy the place pretty much. But I got I spent 3 weeks or so, 2 weeks in Baalbek, the most incredible Roman ruins. Well, not Roman, but ancient ruins. Just unbelievable, unbelievable.
I think there's a couple of blocks of stone there that weigh over 1,000 tons each, which is
Yeah,
incredible. It's not something we can do today, is it?
Well, that's it. The size of the scale of this place is absolutely mind-blowing. And you realize, A, the people living there were a lot taller than we are. You can see the heights of where each floor. It's just massive. So, at that point in my life, I didn't particularly take the idea that giants existed, even though it says it in the Bible and whatever. Terribly, but there, right in front of me, was, to me, absolute proof. Oh my God! Wow. And so, quite sure how we got onto that.
Yeah, I was just thinking that this is brilliant. Talking about giants with Clive is great. Yeah. So, do you have any personal beliefs or thoughts about the pyramids in Egypt, for example? Were they built by giants? Do you think, or I think?
Well,
yeah,
it would be easier to reach up there if they were. But
yeah.
I suspect they had much more sophisticated
technology.
Yeah. I believe there was an energy grid across the planet, which involved what we now call churches, what we now call lots of buildings which have been repurposed with the religion thing tacked onto it, when in actual fact, I believe there were buildings that generated immense power on levels we could barely imagine. Anybody who's interested, pyramids are interesting, but star forts, check out star forts, much more interesting.
Star forts? I don't think I've heard of that before.
Star forts, you see how most of the natural energies of the world were collected was with bodies of water. And star forts, you would have seen them. They look like star-shaped. They call them forts, like fortresses, but they're not. When you examine, could they have possibly defended anything from this shape of structure? They couldn't. Massive earthworks, massive waterworks, canals, and stuff like that. And they were using, these geometrical shapes and spires and all sorts of resonators on buildings to attract energies. Why did they take all the tops off the pyramids? They're all missing. They were deliberately removed to stop the machinery of the ancients from functioning. So once you start looking for proof of what I'm saying, it's everywhere. It's everywhere, because while they've tried to literally rewrite history, I mean, the King James Bible, everything's been rewritten. They changed the calendar.
Deliberately mistranslated, yeah.
And who wrote the original one in the first place? And, so many myths and half-truths and lies put about over the centuries, because the winners of wars always write the history. And they claim they were the good ones. Sometime there was a war waged against us, and we lost. And what happened was that somebody took away our forest, which we've been happy in living in total harmony with, and said, this is now our forest. We're going to take the good stuff. You're going to work for us. You're going to worship us as kings or gods, and you're going to pay us lots of money in goods or services or cash or whatever. And you'll respect us, vote for us, and give us lots of money. I mean, we lost the war. Now there's another one.
I think it was the Normans, if I remember rightly. The Normans came to England, and at that time, most of our landscape was forest. And I think it was the Normans, if I remember rightly, that cut down huge areas of forest.
Shipbuilding was the biggest problem. All the old trees got cut down for the tallest masts and so on. Human beings have been ruled by psychopaths, just a few psychopaths, for a very, very long time. And those psychopaths have written the history so that they're now the heroes. And the human race is in big trouble.
Yep, I totally agree there. Yeah, so let's try and end on something a bit more positive, I suppose. I did mention Selenium and MSM.
Yeah,
Is MSM something that you take with any regularity at all?
I don't find that I get any benefit from it, but loads of people do.
Okay.
Loads of people. When I had MSM 12 years ago on my website, and nobody particularly commented. Then I discovered a super high quality version that I haven't found any the like since. And the moment I switched to that high quality version, it became #2 bestseller out of a lot of stuff. People love it, and it dissolves scar tissue. So if you've had an operation or car accident or something like that, scar tissue works a tenth as well as regular cells. So MSM this high quality has the capacity to reverse scar tissue and replace itself with healthy tissue. So that's a good thing. It has so many positive effects. It's hard to start categorizing them all. They're so varied. But let's say toxic metal poisoning. So pretty much everybody is poisoned with toxins. Toxic metals being a big one, falling out of the skies, everywhere. So if you have, let's say, mercury, lead in your body, it may be stuck in your cells for your whole life. However, if you take sulfur into your body, and MSM is sulfur, sulfur sulfates metals, turning metals into, let's say, mercury sulfate, lead sulfate, whatever you like, sulfate. Sulfates are water soluble. Now you can pee it out. Right? Massively important. Many other effects. So with selenium, if anybody has an addiction, there is one particular type of selenium that I have that is incredible for getting people off drugs or many addictions.
I know last time we spoke, you mentioned amino acids were very good for that as well.
Same deal. Take both.
Yeah.
Take both.
Okay. Because your selenium is targeted, isn't it? And I've not come across that phrase before. So could you explain?
The invention of Hans Nieper, who came across it maybe 50 years ago or something like that. And he found a way to bond selenium in a better way than all the other ways. The next best way is selenomethionine, which is bonding selenium to the amino acid methionine, which is a great way. But this way is bonding it to a special type of oil from a nut called tung oil, T-U-N-G. And bonded in that way, it has these incredible properties. And they were using it in drug trials in New York in the 70s and 80s with massive success. I had one person today ring me up and tell me that the selenium had got them off whatever it was they were on. I can't remember. But you need to get the dose right. And anybody interested in this needs to look at my videos on the subject.
Okay.
Videos on selenium, videos on amino acids to get the dose right.
Yeah.
With all this stuff, I've seen people achieve miracles in 24 hours with the right stuff, in the right combinations, in the right dose. It may be that right dose is what you take on day 1 or day 2 or day 3 or something, and then it may be drastically less after that. But the longer that I'm doing this sort of work, I found that the number of materials you need to get somebody well are less than I thought they needed to be, but that the doses are often much higher.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we're talking magnesium, vitamin C, vitamin D, iodine, and selenium.
Selenium, amino acids, charcoal, bicarbonate of soda, taken with great care. Got to know what you're doing. All these things are actually really, really simple, and they should have been taught at school. When we were 15, 16, we could have understood bicarbonate in one lesson, right? And being expert at knowing what bicarbonate can, bicarbonate can stop a stroke. Bicarbonate can end stomach problems. Bicarbonate can reverse all sorts of nasty diseases. It's a ludicrously inexpensive supplement. But if
Yeah.
you get it wrong, you get it wrong, and that can stop you digesting food that meal. You know,
Yeah.
it's about taking these things at the right time. A little bit of knowledge. So I've got a video which is called "What Supplements to Take, How Much to Take, and When to Take Them," which is like just a general sort of guide thing. I don't think it's on YouTube, but it's on Brand YouTube and Odyssey and Library and
BitChute.
Rumble and Vera
Yeah.
BitChute.
Yeah.
BitChute have been deleting my videos.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They've been putting up a message saying this information is illegal in your country. This information is illegal in your country.
Illegal.
And they're now doing it with written material, not just videos now. Various platforms, people are getting this. Sorry, we can't give you this information. It's illegal to know this. That's where we're at.
Yeah, just getting back to bicarbonate of soda. What's the most effective way of getting that into the body?
Okay, if you were to take it last thing before bed, it would make your body run alkaline all night long. You could start the day by taking a probiotic on an empty stomach in the morning. So alkaline all night long should help you get into full healing mode while you're asleep, which is the ultimate time for healing anyway. So then you take a probiotic first thing in the morning, you're with the stomach empty, now the friendly bacteria can get to work, and that's your immune system. So, but how to take bicarbonate is 2 hours after a meal. So you eat food, the digestion starts in the mouth for carbohydrates, then in the stomach, and then after the stomach has done its work with acid, it goes into the next section, and the body produces bicarbonate of soda naturally to neutralize the acid. So if you were to take bicarbonate of soda at the wrong time, i.e. just after you've eaten a meal, that's going to stop the digestion that should be happening in the stomach, and that's no nutrition for you. So the timing is everything. In between meals.
Right.
So if you're snacking, it's just bicarbonate isn't going to be really any good for you.
Yeah.
If you're nibbling all day, it's not going to be right. So with everything, a little knowledge can do incredible things. You can do a sort of a hot towel with bicarbonate. Bicarbonate is detoxifying. It's so many things. I've got a video called Vitamin C and Bicarbonate with Dr. Mark Circus, who wrote books on both subjects. He's written books, How to Cure Cancer and stuff like that. And bicarbonate can be a part of all this, spelled with a K.
So you would take the vitamin C and the bicarbonate together?
No, not necessarily. No, the video is about both products.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Yeah. Brilliant. I'll link those below this video. That's great. One last thing, actually. There's a doctor. It's quite a famous doctor on YouTube. He's got millions of subscribers, I think. His name is Dr. Eric Berg.
Yeah, I like Eric Berg.
Yeah, he made a video. It came on today on YouTube, and I was quite surprised. And I had to mention this to you because he was talking about leg cramps.
So he thinks they're potassium, and I think they're magnesium. Is that it?
Well, he said that he recommended calcium, and that really surprised me because what I understand about calcium,
I think he's 100% wrong.
So
I mean, with every health researcher, myself included, it's impossible to get it all right. There are always levels and levels, and there's so much misinformation. So I believe that 99% of people don't need calcium. There is a percentage of people who do. But most people don't. Right. And a good way to tell whether you need calcium or not, if you've got calcifications anywhere, build up of calcium in the arteries and the joints, it's very unlikely you need more calcium. You've got too much.
Yeah.
It's building up in the arteries and the joints.
Yeah.
And the answer to that would be magnesium. But I've also heard him, I think it's him, saying that potassium is the answer. But in my experience, well, again, I'm sure potassium in some cases will be the answer. Generally speaking, it's magnesium.
Well, I haven't seen many potassium supplements on the market particularly. I've not noticed any myself. Is it? I mean, how important is potassium then?
Well, I think it's probably safe to assume that everybody's low on everything. But there are potassium supplements out there. but I'd be tempted to eat my way to potassium. One of my favorite books that I look at all the time is called Minerals for the Genetic Code. Minerals for the Genetic Code. And that has at the back all the plant-based products in order of how much minerals they've got in them. So you can just look up potassium and read, it's got it in this, that, and the other. And then it also has subdivisions of which part of that plant are medicinal, which plants do various things. And then, but the main part of the book is about minerals, and it's looking at the table of elements and looking at the table of elements from a different perspective, from a mineral, amino acid, acupuncture, various different viewpoints. The book is brilliant, and it's got some great information on minerals. For instance, some of the symptoms.
Yeah.
And great book. I have to say, some of it goes above my head. It's quite technical in some ways, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll check that out. Thanks very much, Clive. Okay, well, if it's okay with you, mate, I think I'll wrap it up there. I've really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the detour as well into giants and megaliths. That was fantastic. I could talk about that all day long. It's just a fascinating subject, and I'm actually really jealous of the fact that you've been to Baalbek, you lived there or close to there or whatever. Just incredible. And something I didn't really realise is you were talking about the steps there, and how you can see that whoever was using these steps was extremely big. That's not something I've ever seen shown on video before.
Yeah, it wasn't steps, it was the room height. If you look at the largest building there, you can sort of see you just see the whole impossibility of this stuff. I could talk for hours on this. I mean, people just don't realize the technology that's been lost. They were running compressed air cars powered using air compressed with tromps in place of, in Chicago, the Chicago Compressed Air Car Company. They were running clean air vehicles powered by water, essentially, by compressing air. And there were compressed air submarines 140 years ago. Wow. Submarines running on compressed air. Yeah. Torpedoes, still a lot of them on the Second World War, they're running on compressed air. Trains, underground tunnel boring machines running on compressed air, because in a mine you can't have fumes. And so many technologies have been just erased from history. And so the last many years I've been researching the lost technologies, basically. There are lots of them.
Fascinating. And Silbury Hill, would that be a good example of what you were talking about earlier with water? Because I notice quite often when I go to that part of the world, you often see Silbury Hill, which is, if anyone doesn't know Silbury Hill, it's basically a pyramid or Britain's pyramid, and quite often you have like an area around it which is often submerged in water. So would Silbury Hill be a
it might. That's primitive compared to when you put in Starfort. Silbury Hill is primitive. Yes, it's the biggest mound in Europe. It's only 20 minutes up the road from where I live. But there's a more interesting mound which nobody knows about, just 10 minutes down the road in Marlborough School.
Merlin's Mound.
Merlin's Mound, exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, I'll check that out. Have you actually ever been inside Merlin's Mound or been on top of it? Or
no, my kids have, and I've been meaning all this time to do it and just never. I've broken in and walked round it, but not actually climbed to the top of it. I've just got to do it when nobody's looking. Or look like a teacher.
Brilliant, great. Okay, thanks so much, Clive, for coming on with me today. Really enjoyed that. So hopefully we can do it again in the near future.
Sure thing.
Cheers, Clive. Thanks very much, mate. Bye.
Bye.